Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and welcome to my vlog, where it's my pleasure to highlight my creative journey so that way I can perhaps inspire you, I can give you the lessons that I learned along the way, and extract the various tactics that I apply, whether I just learned them or things that I knew from the past to apply to those certain situations. Now, before I get any further, I would like to encourage you to subscribe if you haven't yet already. That way you get all the various content that I put out right when I put it out. All right, so without further ado, last week was a big week. It was a good week in a lot of ways. Nothing like monumental in that sense, but a lot of victories in a sense, and a lot of revelations. So first off, last vlog I mentioned that I had gotten an outline draft from my co-writer for a script that I'm working on called In Search of Sunrise, and Jason is his name, and we kind of done a bunch of back and forths, and finally things just got unlocked. I read the script, or his outline rather, on Tuesday and was just absolutely blown away by it, and it was just truly phenomenal. He got all the little details perfect, and it was wonderful because it kind of made me think about how I like to collaborate. What I realized about myself is I can go into details of things, but I do it more from the standpoint of problem solving, but I don't necessarily, and I can stay in the weeds, if you will, for a long time, but at a certain point I always gravitate towards the bigger picture of things. And so it's great to have someone like Jason who can, kind of really focus on the details of everything and make sure that, the devil is in the detail and things like that. But, in terms of what wasn't working with the script, I was allowed the ability to kind of go and see the trees from the forest, if you will. And I think that happens to me a lot. Even when I was editing my film Idol, it was really wonderful to have someone like a John Comerford or a Courtney Stewart, who then, after me being in the thick of it, I had the big picture, as far as the movie, it was complete. But they were able to finesse the finer details more precisely and get it to a more perfect state. And I think that's wonderful and very necessary. And it was a big revelation in my life to kind of think of it. And that's not to say I hate the idea of I'm only a big pictures kind of guy type, and I don't worry about the small details. I think as an artist, you have to worry about both. You have to be familiar with both, but at the same time, you have to kind of know we all need a bouncing board, someone who can be like, okay, no, that this works, this doesn't work. So I think that's important. But at the same time, it's also important to know your strengths and weaknesses. And so now that I know this about myself, I can be much more cognizant. And in fact, I am a lot more cognizant. And not that I wasn't doing it before, but I really love collaborating with people. And I'm going to continue to lean into that a lot more because A, it makes the process a lot more fun for me. B, it gets me the results faster. And C, it makes the results that much better. So I'm really excited about this revelation and to kind of continue it. And because of the work that Jason did on the outline, at least in terms of the first draft of the script, I think it's going to be a pretty quick process. It's not going to mean the first draft's going to be perfect, but already just utilizing what he wrote, I have been able to, within a couple of days, just knock out 21 pages. And if you know screenwriting, 21 pages, basically a page equals a minute of screen time. So I wrote 21 minutes of the movie. And so I try to force myself to stop in that instance, because I could have continued writing, across the various days a little bit more, but it's kind of the Ernest Hemingway effect where I'd rather stop when I still have more to write, because then it gets me excited to write the next time. I never like to, just go all the way to empty, because then when I come back, it's like, oh. And it's interesting, as far as the outline, one thing I should clarify, and I think it's kind of intriguing about the whole process, is I was talking to my friend Ian Kaiser, who's a producer, and he asked me, like, so how much did Jason contribute to what you had as far as the big picture? And I said it's really tough to kind of discern. Granted, maybe you can go back in and really dissect the drafts. You can dissect the emails and the text messages back and forth. But even then, I think it'd still be hard to come up with a number. And it was never really about that. I mean, I had the broad strokes always, but even there's a brother character in the script, and he was going to be, professionally something when I first wrote him and had him in mind, and then Jason had come up with a different thing. Now, because he came up with that thing, it unlocked other things for me, and I was like, oh, now that I see it in this way, we should try X, Y, and Z. And so I think that was, I think it's a feeding of the minds, and when there's like a kismet sort of connection, I think that's the beauty to me. It's like, we both came up with really, really wonderful things, and, could I have gotten there on my own? Probably not. Could Jason have gotten there without me? No disrespect to Jason, probably not, right? So we needed each other, and that's the beautiful thing about collaboration, hence why I think the product ultimately is stronger when you do collaborate in that sense. So it was really wonderful, and he ironed out all the details of what we were going for. I in the last outline that he had sent me, I gave him like, I think 6 overall general notes of like, we should do this, we should do this, we should nudge this. And, obviously there's a domino effect to that, and he was able to then execute based on that. And he saw where I was going with it based on the notes that I had given him, and it works wonderfully. The big question mark is kind of the ending, and I think I won't even tonally say what my version was, what version his is, but we've always not clashed, but we've had kind of different ideas of what the ending should be. And it's interesting to me, the ending in a lot of ways represents what you ultimately want to say, right? It's the crisis climax moment, and in so doing, it reveals the truth of the character, their arc, and so forth. And I had something in mind, and now that I kind of think about it, now that it's been introduced to me, what's intriguing is we're starting to understand all the characters, and so in a sense, what would the characters do, and ultimately, the protagonist of the story? And in a sense, I'm kind of leaning more towards his version. And mind you, they're drastically different, but just something is beautiful about his, and I think he's tapping into something that I didn't see before, and I was trying to force a different ideal onto it. And maybe that's like part of like what I'm supposed to realize in writing this, is that, I had this preconceived notion of X, but really I need to learn this lesson and see it in this way. And I think that's actually kind of cool. And, I said to Jason, like, we're pretty much there. The ending is the only thing that like still has a question mark over it. But nonetheless, nothing that we have so far, and if we try to write the script, will dictate differently, right? In fact, it'll inform us better of what the ending should be, because we'll have all the even more finer details, right? The dialogue, the actions, and so forth. And so in that respect, I said, let's just get to the end of the script and kind of feel what's right in that moment, because there could be a third ending, but so far the 2 endings that we have, it's either going to be one or the other, or possibly a third beautiful one that we didn't think of, right? So that's the exciting part for me. The other thing in terms of collaboration, Emily, who has been an editor for my novel, we've kind of now finally addressed the final notes, and there are no more notes in this novel. So, as I've kind of been teasing for a long time, and not that this kind of helps you and reveals anything, but now I'm going to finally really go full force into the query letter process for literary agents. So I'm gonna, I even thought about it, like, let me build a web page specifically for the book, like I did with my movie Idol, and that way I can point people, if an agent wants to learn even more information, like it's there for them. Perhaps, people just through my social media, they might see it and kind of go there. So I'm going to do that and start the query letter process, and it just feels really good to be done with that. I've not really really thought about it and celebrated this momentous occasion, but I will and I should. And one of the things that I look forward to collaborating with Emily, she's actually sort of been involved in this script as well a little bit in the early process, and I'm going to kind of bring her in for punch-ups as well, so that way she can see blind spots that Jason and I don't see. So I'm really kind of looking forward to that. And part of it, if nothing else, right? I mean, first off, she adds tremendous value, but if nothing else, with this script in particular, I want it to flow really well. Ultimately, a script is a blueprint for a movie, right? So no one's, it's not like an audience member is going to read the script, but people that could finance your movie, actors, producers, they're going to read it. And so I want them to be excited about it. And so if the prose, if you will, of that script is phenomenal, then, and that includes the dialogue, right? The dialogue has to be on point. Then I think, if nothing else, she will truly add that value. And by the way, Jason's an amazing writer as well, so I think he'll help me because, my dog Chloe agrees. But the idea being that, when I write, I'm still a rising writer. So, a lot of times, like, my sentences can be basic, and so I want to give it a little bit of poetry, if you will, just to make the read of this script a little bit more enjoyable. I don't think that's not lost on me. Just because it's a blueprint doesn't mean the script itself can't have beauty. So I want to make sure it has that. Speaking of kind of just collaborating in general, there's not, like, outside projects have been a little bit few and far between, simply because of the pandemic. There's not much going on. And that's okay, but, which kind of gets me excited for the few times that I do get to work on stuff, because, it's exciting. I like being collaborative with other people. I don't just want to do my projects. I like to share my insights and wisdom with others, right? And so in that sense, my attention to detail and to get into the weeds, and someone kind of thinking big picture, like it's almost like the roles are reversed. They're thinking big picture and they need me to work out the details. And so in that sense, my friend DJ Richard Vision, I work on his projects, cutting up like promo videos, if you will, for lack of a better term. And it's fun, they're easy and simple to do. And so I really enjoy it. And, and a lot of, the stuff that gets posted, a lot of his fans love it. And so I love the reaction to it. So it's cool. I really appreciate that side of it. So don't forget, when I say the word collaboration, it's not just about me collaborating on my stuff. It's about collaborating with others. And I think that's a lesson that you have to take forward too. I mean, one of the reasons people like working with me, I would hope, is because, I reciprocate. And so I think that's an important factor to it as well. And in fact, one of the things that I was thinking about and talking with my friend Lauren Grasso was this idea, we try to follow so many people on social media and things like that, but at a certain point, so there's things that others post and it's like, I'd rather not see this on my timeline anymore, right? I've gone past that stage of my life, and and I follow these people because I want to support them and whatever else, and I want to kind of keep up with what they're doing. But at the same time, I just had this like epiphany almost of like, what? If this person literally hasn't liked any of my stuff in well over a year, and you kind of you get the sense, you might not have it like completely, systematically factual, where you go in and like you find out, oh yeah, clearly, they might have liked one photo within that entire year, but I'm just saying, just gut wise, you get the sense of like, okay, they're not liking any of my stuff. Meanwhile, I've pretty much liked every one of their photos. So it's like, well, and maybe it's time to unfollow that person. They're not, even before that, it's a person that perhaps you didn't want to follow. So, and clearly if they're not going to support you, then what's the point, right? Some people say, oh, well, you can always just unmute them or whatever. And it's like, no, well, maybe there is something said to be, to the effect of like, well, if you don't appreciate what I'm doing, then no, I'm not gonna lie, right? I'm wasting my effort. I'd rather put my effort into, liking and collaborating with people that appreciate it. I think that's an important lesson we all have to learn. And the last thing, LA and has kind of been just in a heat wave and whatever else, and so it's interesting to have to be creative. Yes, Chloe agrees with me that the heat wave is very hot. You can hear by their panting. But it's very difficult in a sense. Like I try to just not do something like in the middle of the day when the heat wave is at its harshest. I'm literally walking around with like a wet towel on my head, drenched in cold water. And then, in the mornings I'll work, and then kind of at night. So that's kind of been my process at the moment. So that's what I have for you. Not a lot of external results, if you will, but nonetheless, I move things forward. Another kind of, I don't know that you would necessarily notice this, or maybe you did, I don't know, but I kind of spent a good chunk of last week reorganizing my lessons, just titling them. I got rid of, like, before everything had like an episode number and things of that nature. And in that effort to kind of, all the lessons still apply, and so they're evergreen, so they don't need a number system. So I got rid of that, and so, and it was good. One of the added benefits, like, it was great to just kind of clean things up, but it was also a great walk down memory lane. I'm almost close to 400 episodes in general, of my vlog, of my various lessons and so forth. And it's great to be reminded of all the things that I've done, and more importantly, the lessons themselves of like, oh yeah, I remember that little bit of wisdom, and so by bringing it to the forefront, I can be much more conscious of it and continue to apply it to my life. It's not like I wasn't applying certain things in my life, but it was just great to be reminded of them and have it even more of a conscious effort. Because, you sometimes dip if you're not constantly, putting an effort and thinking about X, Y, and Z. So it was great to be able to do that through this, and hopefully you and other people out there can benefit from the cleanup of my content and find stuff a little bit easier and so forth. So anyway, that's what I've been up to as of late. As always, you are welcome to ask questions, comment, things of that nature. Happy to discuss and help you problem solve things going on in your life. So, let's chat. You can comment down below or hit me up on social media at Svitek. And if you think any of the stuff that I do would benefit someone else, please share it with them. It would mean a lot to me, for sure. Anyway, thank you, and I hope to see you next time.